kickoff. Ryan Suckup spins it away and out to the 20-yard line. It'll be for Matt Ryan, third overall pick in the first round back in 2008. 43 wins in his first 4 years as Falcons quarterback. Second only since 1950 to begin a career to Joe Flacco. And these are just some of the weapons.
And you're right, just some. You throw into that Jacquez Rodgers, who gives them that Darren Sproles-type presence in the backfield. We're going to see them move him around, along with the Harry Carson. That's excellent in their nickel package.
Michael Turner cuts it to the inside and crosses the 25 up to the 26-yard line. Now, Kansas City, 6 injured defenders, including 4 starters. We talked about the one-game suspension by Tamba Hali. How do they replace his pass rushing ability?
They hope that Justin Houston can be that presence. I'm not sure he's going to gobble up the kind of attention that Tamba Hali does.
Gain of 6 for Turner, 2nd and 4. Turner again. He has been such a huge part of this Atlanta turnaround as a franchise. During his 4 years in signing from San Diego, he's rushed for better than 5,200 yards and 50 rushing touchdowns. Only Adrian Peterson has more yards and more score.
And you can talk about the Atlanta offense wanting to be more explosive and getting something out of Matt Ryan. They're not going to ever get too far away from pounding away Michael Turner.
3rd and a short 2. Catch is made and appears to be very close to a first down. Who else on the first reception of the day than Tony Gonzalez, and that will move the chain.
And why do you go to Tony Gonzalez, besides the fact he's going to walk in to the Hall of Fame? The size of your tight end on a 3rd and short. He's not going to be wide open. He's going to be open just enough where you can get the ball close. All you're looking for is the conversion. Can't think of a better guy to go to than Tony Gonzalez to get it.
Gonzalez beginning his 16th season where he played his first 12 right here at Arrowhead. #1 pick of the Chiefs back in 1997. Play action across the middle and a wide open Julio Jones across midfield to the 45.
Well, we saw them open with 2 solid runs into the middle of the defense with Michael Turner. Then what do they come back with? Watch this play action fake, and Julio Jones gets in behind the linebackers. They step up because of the play fake. Matt Ryan being able to come over right over the top of the linebackers of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Gain of 25, and again Ryan play action, dangerous throw there, and excellent coverage in the secondary by Eric Berry, a Pro Bowler as a rookie 2 seasons ago, but last year on the second play in Detroit injured his knee and missed the remainder of the season.
And Eric Berry told us he knew Gonzalez was going to try to use his size. Obviously there's a mismatch there. Eric Berry told us, I've got to use my quickness and cover with my feet against a big receiver like Gonzalez.
Second down and 10, and they give it to Turner, and he's met at the line of scrimmage by Tyson Jackson. They're hoping for a big year from Jackson. They've been waiting on him, Brian. You can't call him a bust, but a #1 pick back in 2009.
Well, sometimes you just need that right opportunity in conjunction with the other players around you. I'll promise you this, Romeo Crennel will know how to use him. He's an old-time defensive line coach, so that's his specialty.
There's 3rd and long on this opening drive for Ryan and the Falcons, 3rd and 8. Jones another catch, and Jones another first down. He's inside the 35 to the 32. A gain of 11. Atlanta was so good last season on their opening drive, among the best in the NFL.
Well, and Matt Ryan not only likes these opening orchestrated drives, they love to get into the no-huddle. We are going to see the no-huddle by Atlanta, but as long as they're productive without it, we're going to continue to see this. Kansas City is showing a lot of pressure thus far, giving an opportunity with the one-on-one matchups outside for Atlanta.
Short drop on first down and looking for the jump ball in the corner. And great coverage by Stanford Routt. They brought him over from the Oakland Raiders during the offseason when they lost Brandon Carr in free agency to Dallas. Should be noted that Brandon Flowers is out. The other corner on the left side, his backup, Jalil Brown, has an injured groin, and so Jock Reeves, after missing the last 2 years to tend to his ailing mother, gets a start today. A bullet for another first down, and that's to the 17-yard line. First catch of the game by Roddy White.
This is all about, you can see pressure here coming from the outside with Kansas City. That tells Matt Ryan he's going to be one-on-one on the backside. He and Roddy White have gotten to that point, like all great quarterback-receiver combinations, that they can almost finish each other's thoughts. They know exactly where they're going to be and when they need to be there.
First down, they give it to Turner. And again, not much running room. Inside the 15, maybe a gain of 2. Atlanta scored 51 points on its opening possession last year. That was the third most in the NFL. So they're at it again, banging on the door inside the 15.
And to score on your opening drive, what that gives your team by way of confidence, it just shoots it out the road.
Play number 11 on this season opening drive. And Ryan dumps it off to Palmer, the backup tight end. He takes a big hit inside the 10. And spotted at the 8-yard line, and he's about 2 yards shy of a first down.
Matt Ryan was trying to pump open Tony Gonzalez with a little nod route to the back of the end zone. Kansas City wasn't having any part of it, so he just dropped it off to Palmer for a little chump change, putting them in a very manageable third down.
3rd and 2.
Julio Jones right here, maybe looking for an end zone shot.
You called it, and there it is for the touchdown. What an impressive opening drive of this 2012 season for Ryan and the Falcons. 3 catches on the drive for Julio Jones, including a touchdown.
We talk about matchups, Tom. There's a lot of ways to get it. You can no huddle, you can shift and you motion. I promise you, I don't know if he was the primary or not, but when he saw Julio Jones matched up on the outside, Matt Ryan knew right where he wanted to go.
Well, you might know a thing or two about this game. Before that play ever went out, you're circling Julio Jones.
Don't tell anybody. You'll ruin
I'm going to
my
give you
rep.
a pat on the back early because I know it's south from here. Point after is good. 11 plays. And then the 12th is a touchdown throw to Jones, spanning 80 yards. 7-0 Falcons. What an impressive opening drive to this 2012 season for Matt Ryan. Hitting 6 out of 8, 68 yards, the 8-yard touchdown pass to Julio Jones.
And we talked about it before. When you score on your opening drive, it just reinforces everything the coach has told you during the week. Right now, Atlanta's riding high.
They've got Terrence Cooper. Hopper waiting on the kick from Matt Boschner. And it's Arenas who goes over to get it and brings it out to the 22-yard line. So now Matt Castle and the Chiefs offense. So many weapons here in 2012. Try and answer. Opening weekend of the 2012 NFL season. Great to have you with us from Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. So now Matt Castle Came over to trade from New England in 2009. Played relatively well his first year on a bad team. Took the Chiefs to the playoffs as a Pro Bowler a year later. Then last year played in just 9 games before injuring his hand as Peyton Hillis, among the newest Kansas City Chiefs. Carries for a gain of 2 on first down. They welcome back a healthy Jamal Charles and Tony Moeaki. They basically didn't have either one of them the entire year last season.
And you can see they can match up with the Atlanta Falcons skill position for skill position. And you throw in Dexter McCluster. He's their version of the Darren Sproles, both out of the backfield and in wide receiver positions.
Hillis coming over from Cleveland during the offseason. First throw, and it's Steve Breston on the catch. Slips a tackle and appears to be about a half-yard shy of the first down. Atlanta defensively in his 13th season is John Abraham. Coming off another fine season a year ago. Their leading tackler was Sean Weatherspoon, and Brent Grimes, a Pro Bowler 2 years ago, hoping to get back there this year.
New defensive coordinator Mike Nolan feels like he has a guy in these 3, just what you want. Someone up front, someone at the second level, and a good solid secondary guy to hold the group together.
120.
Third down and a yard, and they give it to Jamal Charles, and he has what appears to be enough for a first down. It was 1 year ago in Detroit when Jamal Charles was carted off the field, tears in his eyes after tearing ligaments in his knee. And boy, when he is healthy, he is among the best backs in the NFL.
And they brought in Peyton Hillis not only to balance that speed with now a big physical back, but also to protect themselves against, obviously, another injury. Like everybody in the league, you better have 2 guys in the running back position.
With protection and a wide-open Tony Moeaki, who did not play a single snap last year after catching 47 passes as a rookie out of Iowa, a gain of 18.
That was a huge loss of Moeaki last year for Matt Castle. We already talked about Matt Ryan and Tony Gonzalez, a go-to guy at the tight end position. When Moeaki went down with that ACL, that was a huge loss for Matt Castle, not only the team, but for Matt Castle personally, because it took away that intermediate go-to guy.
And those are some of the injuries they had last year. You're talking about some big guys there in Moeaki and Charles. Castle played the first 9 games, then he got hurt. And now he's throwing again, in and out of the hands of Dwayne Bowe. Bowe had 12 drops last season, tied for second most in the NFL behind Roddy White, ironically enough. But Bowe, a holdout, was designated as a franchise player, which they have the option to do again next year. He only played in 2 preseason games and very little at that.
And you can see right there the dropped passes has been a little bit of the Achilles heel for this Pro Bowl wide receiver.
Charles on second down and coming in to make the stop, Stephen Nicholas. Nice play. Third and a little less than 10 coming up.
See, just pulling the gap right here. Came off the backside. That's an excellent fill on the part of Stephen Nicholas, because he saw the play going away. He had to blow through the gap. Otherwise, this thing might have gone out the gate outside the edge. Great play by the inside linebacker, Nicholas.
Well, third down and 9. Of course, Atlanta lost their leading tackler from last year, Curtis Lawton. Signed as a free agent with Kansas City. Good protection. Castle steps up and delivers a strike all the way to the 24, and this time ball hangs on.
That was a little late in developing. Matt Castle had to really throw this in. You can see here at the top of the screen, it's a timed route. It gets cleared out. He pulls up just at the right depth. The inside defender almost got underneath it. That's why I was saying it is a bit of a late throw, but this is as on target as you can get for a big third down conversion.
Kansas City, the only team in the NFL which failed to score a touchdown on its opening drive last year. But thinking differently here at 12, that one appeared to be tipped to the line of scrimmage.
You know, Matt Castle said something to us yesterday that was interesting. He said that he's got to get to the point where he can pass the progression. And by that I mean every play has a certain progression you're supposed to go with. But if you see a matchup, and that's what this game's about today, if you see a matchup you like, forget the progression, go to the matchup you like.
New offensive coordinator here in Brian Daboll. This is the ninth play of this drive. Charles cuts it back to the inside and picks up close to 3. Let's check in back in Los Angeles with Kurt Menefee.
Oh, rough start for the Bears offense against the Colts. 3 and out on their opening drive. Second possession, first play. Jarrell Freeman picks off Jay Cutler. 4-yard pick six, 7-0 Colts. Tom, Brian?
Keep you up to date throughout the afternoon from Los Angeles. Opening drive for the Chiefs. This will be the 10th play on it. And a 3rd down and 8. Slips a tackle, but not nearly enough for a first down. Run out of bounds at the 21-yard line. So on comes the field goal unit. Looked like Castle took a big hit after he delivered this pass to Hillis.
Well, he's reading through and has to get the ball out quick. Why? Because you just saw why. Weatherspoon came in and leveled him. Legal hit. But that's why he went to the drop-off pass so quickly. He saw that Weatherspoon was coming up the middle unblocked.
So a 39-yard field goal try for Ryan Succop. Hit on 24 out of 30 last year. Out of the hold of Dustin Colquitt. And it is good, so each team scores on its opening possession. Romeo Crennel's Chiefs trailing Mike Smith's Falcons 7-3. You're watching the NFL on Fox.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Moss. By Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by Samsung. The next big thing is here.
We couldn't ask for a more glorious weather Sunday in Kansas City for this opening weekend of the NFL season. Falcons with a 7-3 lead, and Rodgers waiting on the kick from Succop. And he comes up to get it. Juggles. Brings it out and look out. Rodgers with one man to beat. Inside the 30 and run out of bounds at the 25-yard line. Javier Arenas caught it. But a big shot in the arm for the Falcons offense. 77-yard return by Rodgers.
It's amazing how many times you see something like this. A little bobble by Rodgers. That gets the on-rushers just to settle just a little bit. It's like, oh my gosh, we're really going to pin him down. They relax a little bit, and right here it all gets collapsed. And now that speed of Rodgers shows up to the outside.
Yard line for Matt Ryan. Play clock down to 2. Ryan's going to get it off. And Turner rumbles down to the 20-yard line, a gain of 4. There's a lot of talk, Coach Billick, about the Falcons wanting to limit the number of carries by Turner. We talked about all the yards and the touchdowns. Over the last 4 years, he has carried the ball nearly 1,200 times.
But you got to remember how little he played in the first 4 years in the league in San Diego. He'll tell you, I'm fresh. I don't feel like a guy approaching 30.
Turner to the 18-yard line, 3rd down upcoming, and again we check in back in Los Angeles with Kurt Menefee.
Bounty gate is over, football is back, and so is this Saints offense. Drew Brees hooking up with Jimmy Graham, his favorite target. Last season scores their first touchdown this year, and they lead RG3 and the Skins 7-3 in the first quarter. Tom?
Of course, the Falcons finished runner-up in the NFC South to those Saints a season ago. New Orleans beat the Falcons twice. They're down at 4 from the 18.
This is Tony Gonzalez territory down here, if you can get the playoff.
False start. Offense number 2. 5-yard penalty. Still third down.
And that's one of the new rules they have in the NFL this year.
Yeah, they put this into where normally in the gun, we're all used to seeing Peyton Manning go through these constant exaggerations of motion and pointing and lifting the knee. They've tried to bring that under control, that the quarterback has to be more deliberate. That little extra action right there is what brought about the penalty.
So 34 now becomes 3rd and 9. Blitz coming, they find Harry Douglas, but he is denied first down yardage. Outstanding tackle in the open field by Stanford Routt.
Right here, you can drop the ball off, and Harry Douglas is very dangerous in the open field, but anytime you can get them off the field, if it's 3rd and 9, you don't care if they get 6, 7, or 8. You just don't want to give them the first down. That's a win for the Kansas City defense. Based on the way these offenses are going, this could turn into a trap meet.
So now it'll be Matt Bryant out of the hold at Boston. Good snap, good hold, and he sneaks it inside the left upright. So the big return by Jacquizz Rodgers of 77 yards leads to an Atlanta field goal. And under 2 minutes to go in the opening period from Arrowhead Stadium, the Falcons with a 7-point lead. 1:57 to play in the opening quarter. Well, we figured this had a chance to be a shootout style game, and perhaps we're on our way.
Well, right now the punters are taking the day off, and it could be that kind of game all day long.
Javier Arenas out across the 10 to the 15, and still on his feet. And up to the 24. Arenas saved the kickoff return, would-be touchdown a moment ago by Rodgers.
Roy Bierman on the tackle. Return of 45 yards.
Matt Castle in Kansas City back at it on offense. Castle hit on 4 of 6 for 48 yards his first drive, which led to a field goal.
From the Chiefs' 24-yard line.
And they started their second drive of the game from their own 24.
What is he? What is he not?
Charles looking for running room and doesn't find any.
Another great play by linebacker Stephen Nicholas. You can see him right here. Look at him set that right there. He holds off the edge. He cuts off the outside right there. Forces Jamal Charles to think about going back inside. And that's just what you want to do on an edge setter, because all your buddies are on the inside. You're shoving them right back into the heart of the defense.
Ray Edwards coming in to clean it up, and this is Hillis. Well, you know the story on Hillis. Came out of Arkansas fullback. Drafted by Denver, wound up being their starting fullback before he went to Cleveland in a trade and rushed for almost 1,200 yards. Had 61 receptions in 2010. Was voted by the fans to don the cover of Madden NFL 12. But in 2011, it couldn't have been much worse for Peyton Hillis.
Yeah, and there were some questions about him coming out of Cleveland as to his commitment to being able to play hurt. Can't play injured, but everybody plays hurt. They questioned that, and that's how he ended up in Kansas City.
3rd and 4, and there is Moiaki for a first down up to the 43. Boy, not only Moiaki, but they also brought in Kevin Voss. That's quite a tandem at tight end for this Kansas City team.
Well, you can see what they're doing here. They're going to a little bit of no huddle. This is the sugar huddle at Kansas City. may run occasionally. This is not a pure no huddle. They kind of group together. They're not in a true huddle. He kind of gives them their instructions. They hope that this upsets the defense in terms of what are the matchups, what can we get called, maybe get the defense to be a little more basic.
And that will be the final play of the opening quarter. An exciting quarter. Atlanta 10, Kansas City 3. Fox NFL Sunday continues after these messages. 10-3, we're set to begin the second quarter. Atlanta in front, but Kansas City a 1st and 10 from its own 41-yard line. Jamal Charles with running room, and that'll be a gain of 11. Charles, a two-time 1,000-yard rusher, healthy again.
Watch the tight end block right here. Matt Castle saw some in the right turn. John Abraham to the outside, opened a big alley for Jamar Charles to do just what he likes. Head downhill, then cut back against the teeth of the defense.
Charles ran for nearly 1,500 yards, averaging better than 6 yards per carry when he went to the Pro Bowl his last healthy season. And now he'll go to the sideline, and they pitch it back, and that was a disaster from the very beginning. And Brian, you wonder why the trickery. You've got a good drive on basic stuff.
Well, they've been pounding it pretty good. Here they thought they could just the old trickeration of the pitch back pass, thinking you could get the DBs or the deepest safety to freeze a little bit. But the hard part about that play, that takes a long time to get off. You've got to protect it. You've got to stay firm on the edges. Kansas City didn't do it there.
Well, Charles checks back in. That was a loss of 8. 2nd down and 18. This Chiefs team won 7, lost 9 a year ago. They played with 3 different starting quarterbacks. Crossing pattern, they'll get a big chunk of it back. Dexter McCluster out of the backfield. And he's to the 47-yard line. 3rd and 9 upcoming. Here's Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles.
Well, guys, Tom Brady passes John Elway for 5th place on the career list for touchdown passes with his 23-yard hookup to Aaron Hernandez. It's his 301st of his career. It's 7-3 right now, New England at Tennessee. Tom and Brian.
All right, Kurt, thank you very much. We'll call it 3rd down and 9. Chiefs need to get to the 38 of the Falcons to convert a 1st down. Castle steps up, and Bowe in traffic hangs on, beating Grimes down to the 25-yard line.
Nice job of Castle. Watch here off the edge, stepping up under the pass rush, delivering a strike. This is a well-thrown ball. Grimes has got this guy covered, but Bowe is so big, so strong, there's nothing you can do to defend that.
Well, Grimes right there, step for step indeed with Bowe. Dropped his first pass of the afternoon, but has come back with a pair of receptions since then. Sean Drone, the ball carrier, touching it for the first time in his NFL career. He was on the Kansas City practice squad last season. Scott Pioli, their general manager, said he believes this young man has tremendous talent, and it's just a matter of getting a chance to play.
This is a very young Kansas City team, and that bodes well for their future if they can continue to develop as a group, kind of mature this young team. Kansas City, a lot of people think, can do real damage in the AFC West.
Number 22 is 2nd down and 6, and again excellent protection, and Kevin Boss with a touchdown. Boy, how good is Castle to begin the afternoon?
He's playing with confidence, you can tell. He's come under criticism here in Kansas City. These are 2 well-thrown balls. I don't know that you can really fault the defense. Watch the tight end. Boss right down the middle. The linebacker has a presence. Grimes falls off, but it's not enough. Boss, all 6'6", beautifully thrown ball by Matt Castle. You can tell he's excited.
Boss had 4 excellent seasons with the Giants. A lost year in Oakland last year. And now his first catch is a Kansas City Chief. A touchdown. Succop for the point after, which ties the game at 10. Now we thought this was going to be a good one. And boy, has it been entertaining so far.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Chevrolet. From kickoff to the last yard, Chevy runs deep. By Miller Lite, it's not just a good time, it's Miller time. And by KFC, come in today and taste why fresh is better.
Both quarterbacks on top of their game through the first quarter. And less than a handful of minutes in his 2012 season, Ryan has hit on 7 of 9 with a touchdown. Castle 8 out of 10 with a touchdown. Rodgers returned his last kickoff 77 yards. And a nice return here up to the 27-yard line. So now Ryan and the Falcons will take the field when we come back. First down for Ryan and the Falcons in a 10-10 game. 11:33 to play until halftime. They give it to Jacquizz Rodgers, and that didn't fool Kansas City on defense. A gain of 2. Derek Johnson, their leading tackler a season ago, has been bothered by a tender ankle. He injured it in the 3rd preseason game, the final preseason game against Green Bay.
And Atlanta goes to their no-huddle. We knew we would see this early. They love to put Matt Ryan to change up the tempo of the game. With the momentum being on Kansas City's side, you kind of anticipated that Atlanta would get into their no-huddle.
Quick hit to Roddy White. First down yardage and plenty more after that, up to the 45-yard line. That'll be a gain of 18 for Roddy White.
Just a little quick pick screen here. We don't call them pick, we call them avoid screens because picking is illegal. You see it more and more coming up out of the college game, and particularly in a no-huddle offense.
Ryan rolls and throws. Was the catch made by White? Yes is the answer. Boy, how do they keep the toes down? Remarkable.
This is beautiful. Look, he knows exactly where it is. Right foot, left foot, drag the right one just in case. And yes, you've got to maintain control throughout. Looks like he does.
Well, they're in that hurry-up mode.
Yeah, they decide to challenge it. I'm not quite sure what they saw to make them challenge it. It looks like he had 3 feet in. Just a little boot and waggle, gets around the edge. The underneath pass is dead. So right here, he's got the left foot, excuse me, drags the right foot, maintains control. Looks like that's completed to me. He's able to drag that right foot.
Our referee, Mike Shepard, will take a look. We'll have the verdict in a moment.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Chevrolet. From kickoff to the last yard, Chevy runs deep.
Well, they're taking a look at this, what was ruled a catch on the field by Roddy White, challenged by Romeo Crennel.
And let's remember that the ruling on the field was a catch right there. We can't see if there's any green between his toes and the sideline. There's certainly nothing there to be able to tell the officials that they can overrule this. Right now, it looks like it should stand. Now, the second part of it is, what about the catch? Does the ball move at all? There's nothing you can see there to say he didn't have
The ruling
control.
on the field of a completed catch stands. Kansas City will be charged their first team timeout.
He very may well have been out of bounds. He may very well have bobbled it, but we didn't see it. That looks like a good call.
And of course, Brian, we are playing without the regular NFL officials. That has been a story told over and over and over again as the league tries to work out a deal with them. So Mike Shepard and his crew, so far in this game, have done an excellent job. Chuck Rogers inside the 35, down to the 34-yard line. And I think most people feel like at least the one game that's been played in the NFL before today that the officials did a good job on the Wednesday night game between the Giants and the Cowboys.
No, it's like the guy jumping out of a 30-story building. Every floor they heard him say, so far so good. So far so good.
We got to come back to that. Here's a catch it again. It is Rogers, and he's run out of bounds.
Ryan's pass complete to Chuck Rogers.
And that's at the 27-yard line. Let's check in with Kurt Menefee back in Los Angeles.
Redskins and Saints, hey, just like they planned for RG3. 3 possessions, 2 touchdowns. This one a 5-yarder to Aldrick Robinson, and they lead the Saints 17-7. Looking good, Tom.
How about that?
Watch him. We're going to see Andrew Luck next week. We've got that Indianapolis game. I'm looking forward to see that. We also have Washington later on. I'd love to see RG3. These 2 young men are exciting to watch.
Short drop, pump fake one way. Now Ryan looks the other way and dumps it off to Gonzalez, and he's inside the 25, down to the 22. Some extra pushing and shoving going on between Abram Elam, who is starting in place of the injured Kendrick Lewis. At free safety, we talked about so many of these injuries for Kansas City on defense.
Yeah, this is going to test that secondary. The communication, particularly at home, when it's loud. These fans want to be loud to stop the no huddle. That puts a lot of pressure on the Kansas City secondary as well.
2nd and 5. Ryan puts it up. Catch. First down again. Roddy White. Chiefs are missing half of their starting secondary. Lewis is out. Brandon Flowers is out. We told you his backup at corner Jaleel Brown is out. Their starting nose tackle Anthony Toribio is out, so the rookie Dontari Poe starts at the nose. This Atlanta offense has been marching up and down the field on now a 3rd straight possession.
He may be wanting to check to a run here. Or a pass.
There's that same screen. They go to Jones, and again he finds the end zone for a touchdown. Julio Jones, taken in the 1st round last year when the Falcons traded up to get him. He had a solid rookie year and 2 touchdowns to begin season number 2.
That's twice we've seen these quick little pick screens right here. Douglas comes out. Wow, right there. I call it a void. I have fun with it. You can't do that. You can't block downfield on a play like that. That's one that the officials missed. You can make them avoid. You can act like you're going in a route and kind of have a little collision. You can't flat go out there and cut the guy.
Second scoring toss from Ryan to Julio Jones, and the Falcons back on top by 7. 7:48 to play until halftime, and the 2nd touchdown catch of the day for Julio Jones puts Atlanta in front. Matt Ryan on that drive, perfect.
Well, we thought this could be a track meet, but right now, well, I see no indication that either one of these defenses are going to stiffen up. Somebody's got to stop up, even if it's just to make them kick a field goal as opposed to getting a touchdown.
I know. Let's go back to the touchdown a moment ago, Brian. Is this a legal play or not?
Here's the key. I want you to watch Harry Douglas. If you're within a yard of the line of scrimmage, you're okay. Otherwise, it's offensive pass interference. I don't know. That's awful close.
Well, you see the blue line there. That's the imaginary line of scrimmage.
Yeah, just the nature of the play itself, I got to believe, is normally going to get called. That's an awful fine line to say that's within a yard or not within a yard of the line of scrimmage.
Matt Castle has been mighty sharp here today, hitting on 8 of 10, 111 yards, and a touchdown throw to Kevin Boss. And they start off on the ground at Charles. Boy, he's so good, and he's into the open field. Jamal Charles, and caught from behind at the 35-yard line by Thomas Deku, but a huge gainer for Charles.
They're seeing something off that right side. Winston on the right side. I want you to watch the tackle. Starts out and then seals the inside. Great block on Nicholas, and now the speed of Jamal Charles. They were concerned about Charles coming in, and they said somewhere about the second or third preseason game they saw him put the foot in the ground, make the kind of cut that they knew he was going to be okay.
It's a gain of 46. And Hillis barrels forward down to the 30-yard line. We talked about Charles. It was an opening game of the season.
Well, they had three
when
guys.
He was hurt. They had Moiaki, of course, that had gone down.
And Eric Berry. That's three guys, I tell you what. But they got together. To be hurt like that, you feel isolated from the team, but they rehab together. They push one another. To have three guys all with ACLs, Charles, Moiaki, and Berry, it really was something they could lean on one another to get themselves ready for the season.
Castle to Hillis, who cuts it back to the inside. It takes the host of Falcons to bring him down. A third down upcoming. Laura Oakman.
I love that Brian brought up the mental recuperation, because you talk to guys who missed a season and they don't talk so much about physically being worried about coming back. It is the mental. Jamal Charles was one of those. Said last year was the hardest year he dealt with. He never missed that much time. Said, I felt like everyone forgot about me. I didn't know what my place was. Every chief has said he's on a mission. He is driven this year. He said, it's because I need to make a name for myself again. It's like 2010 never even happened.
So all three of those guys rehab together. They're pushing indeed one another. Third down and 5 as Kansas City tries to answer the Atlanta touchdown. Look at that throw. And that's McCluster. I mean, you can't throw it any better than Matt Castle just did with very little wiggle room.
And we talk constantly about the matchups. That's what a Jamal Charles, or excuse me, a McCluster gives you by breaking to the outside. Dexter McCluster one-on-one with a safety or a linebacker. And then you're right, Tom. Look at the accuracy. That gives the running back a chance. Doesn't turn into a lot here. But if you can catch that on the run without changing your body position at all of a sudden, that's what turns into a big play.
Spotted inside the 20. Charles once more breaks it to the outside. And he's run out of bounds at the 10-yard line. A gain of 9. Well, these Chiefs fans have to be so excited, Coach Billick, at this start on offense.
Everybody's tail was the right guard, excuse me, on the right side. Asamoah does a nice job pulling around. We saw it with Winston. Now we saw it with Asamoah. Anytime you see a play bounce to the outside or successful outside, something has to wall off on the inside.
Second down and a yard. And that is a first down. Well, you look at this offensive line. Well, they drafted Brandon Albert, the left tackle. First rounder in 08. In 2010, they brought in Ryan Lilja. They drafted Asamoah, who's become a starter over at right guard. Rodney Hudson takes over as starter this year, the center position. And in 2012, their first 2 picks in the draft were offensive linemen.
And the picking up of Eric Winston from Houston in the offseason kind of rounded out that group, brought some maturity and leadership to it.
Hillis spins his way down to the 5.
And this is where the picking up of Peyton Hillis really pays off. We've seen the explosiveness of Jamal Charles, Dexter McCluster, but you can bring in the big pounding back of Peyton Hillis as that changeup, particularly as you get inside. Now, with the group they have in here, they have practiced some of the Wildcat where they will shift Matt Castle out of it. We'll see if it shows up down here.
Well, they've got Sean Drone in the backfield, and now he splits far to the right. A second and goal. Quarterback keeper. Castle slips his way into the end zone, led by Lilja. First rushing touchdown for Castle since he played for New England back in 2008.
You can tell he is excited. He's got the fans pulling for him now.
You're talking about a guy in Castle who was booed at Kauffman Stadium in a celebrity softball game 2 days prior to Kansas City hosting the Major League Baseball All-Star game.
And this is a great call by offensive coordinator Brian Dable. You don't expect that kind of call with the Matt Castle. Hasn't necessarily been in his repertoire. That's why obviously Atlanta wasn't ready for it.
Point after is good by Suckett.
You can see it all gets spread out right here. Matt Castle loving being in the end zone. He's got him on their side now.
We'd like to welcome the men and women in uniform serving around the world, watching our game today in 175 countries on AFM, the American Forces Network. For all who have served, all that are serving, and those who will serve. God bless you all. Thank you for what you do, representing the greatest country in the world.
Kicking off for Kansas City, Ryan Suckett.
Not a single punt for either team through nearly an entire half.
And it's a little early still, but it does change your play calling when you recognize, look, the other side of the ball is struggling. It may come down to whoever has the ball last. It gets you to be a little more aggressive with your play calling.
Rodgers deep in his own end zone. A couple of pretty good returns already today, but this time takes a knee, so 3:38. And a full array of timeouts for Matt Ryan.
Well, we saw Atlanta come out and do no huddle in the last series. Here it might be, you know what, we got to keep our defense off the field a little bit. They may go with the more orchestrated call now to see if they can balance it up between run and pass. Still want to score, still need to go the length of the field, but let's just take a little more time in doing it.
Ryan has hit on 10 straight passes for 100 yards over those 10 and hit 6 different receivers. We talked about all the weapons for both of these quarterbacks, and they're both utilizing nearly every one of them. That one bobbled and caught by Harry Douglas. That'll be a gain of 2 on first down.
Now Atlanta kind of going with their sugar huddle. And the officials are deciding something here. They got to look and see if this thing bounced in. It's only a 2-yard gain. I don't know that it's worth a challenge or not a challenge on either side for a 2 or 3 yard gain.
The previous pass is incomplete. Second down.
Oh, good call. They came back and overruled themselves. That's what you do. You confer with one another. The line judge seems something different than the back judge. Nice job by the officials.
So second down and 10, and that's the first incompleted throw by Ryan, spanning his last 11. If he only missed 3 times all day. Douglas a clean catch this time, and run out of bounds after a gain of 19 up to the 39-yard line, stopping the clock. 2:55 to go until the half.
And when you're as deep at the skill position as Atlanta, this is what you're looking for. Fine, you want to double Julio Jones, you want to double Roddy White, you want to jam Tony Gonzalez. Well, that's going to leave Harry Douglas one-on-one in my slot. You can't cover everybody.
They're burning a lot of time here. They have a lot of time to play with. That play clock down to 7. Too tall for Julio Jones.
Matt Ryan's been pumping the secondary of the Kansas City Chiefs all day. Mike Smith knows that his quarterback has the experience to do that. He's trying to move the secondary when he has a pumping action like that. So far, it hasn't yielded anything.
3 receivers to the right, 2 to the left, empty backfield on second and 10. From their own 39, good protection again. And neither quarterback has felt much heat at all, and there's Gonzalez crossing midfield. Trying to get into play before we reach a 2-minute warning. It's been an outstanding half for Ryan. It's been an outstanding half for both quarterbacks and both teams on offense. They get the play off. Ryan all day to throw. And now nothing but green in front, slides his way, depending on where they spot it. It appears as though he has enough for a first down, and he does, which takes us to 1:55 and the 2-minute warning. 17 apiece at Arrowhead. 17-17, under 2 minutes to play until halftime, and Atlanta once more on the move. Ball at the 37. Ryan looking one way, rolling the other, and for a second straight time will keep it on the ground and picks up 9.
Well, both teams are trying to get home with the 4-man rush. I haven't seen a lot of linebackers dogging or secondary blitz, and right now it's just not getting home on either side. The offensive line is gobbling up this 4-man rush and giving both these quarterbacks way too much time to operate.
And again, the Chiefs playing without Tamba Hali, who had 12 sacks, second most in the AFC a year ago. Suspended by 1 game by the National Football League for violating the substance abuse policy. Pump fake. And down the middle to Gonzalez. And he is all the way down inside the 5 to the 3-yard line.
Same thing we saw before. A play fake draws the linebackers and secondary up. You pull the guard. Good solid protection. Allows Matt Ryan to get the ball in behind that linebacker level to Tony Gonzalez.
25-yard pickup, first and goal for Atlanta. And Ryan's going to throw it. And is sacked all the way back to the 10-yard line by Justin Houston. He's a guy they're hoping can fill the void of Hali not being here today at 5 sacks over the final 5 games a year ago.
Going to see him come off the edge. Tyson Clabo starts upfield, gets beat underneath right when on cue when I said the 4-man rush wasn't getting home. Anytime you overset as a tackle, you come underneath as a defender, you're going to get a clean shot on the quarterback.
While we have a moment, Coach Billick, a man you were very close to, in fact you used to work for, sadly passing. Art Modell, one of the most influential owners in the history of professional football.
Well, I'll tell you what, this was a special time to be a part of this in Art's life. And I'll tell you sincerely, when you sit down with Art Modell, you know that your circumstance, what's going on in your life, is more important to Art than what's going on in his life. He was so gracious, created such a great family atmosphere. He'll be sorely missed.
And it broke his heart to leave his hometown of Cleveland, Ohio.
Huge heartbreak on his part. Let's remember, he left the team, he left the colors, he left the name. Not everybody has done that.
Our thoughts and prayers with his entire family. Second down and goal. Roddy White having to slide to make the catch back down to the 4-yard line. So 3rd and goal.
He was covered by Shock Reed.
Final seconds of the opening half.
And this shows you the confidence they have in Matt Ryan here, the way he can manipulate the clock. They obviously want to get I don't know what to wait for. They're going to call timeout here. I guess they want a more orchestrated call. Give themselves time on a 3rd down. They want to think about this a little bit. The way this game's going, you don't want to miss an opportunity to score a touchdown and have to settle for 3. This is where when you have so many athletes, as does both these teams, you got so many options. You could sit here and guess, okay, I'm going to shove Michael Turner up the middle because they're going to be passive on the outside. We've already seen a jump ball to Julio Jones on the outside. You got to take away Tony Gonzalez. One-on-one on Tony Gonzalez, that's just not going to work. A lot of times they like to bunch the receivers up, clean it out with Gonzalez. If he's not there at the back of the end zone, they'll bring Roddy White or Julio Jones underneath. So with this many skilled players, you can see it right here. This is what I'm talking about. They love this bunch group to play with. Someone at the back of the end zone, someone underneath.
Boy, that had no chance right from the start of the play. So that's a missed chance right there by the Falcons. They drive down the field. They have 1st and goal. At the 3-yard line, they try and throw out of the shotgun on 1st down. Ryan is sacked. And now they're forced for a field goal try.
This will be a 21-yard attempt.
Will be a chip shot. attempt for Bryant. 21 yards out. And the first-year long snapper in Josh Harris. And a good snap there. And a point after. Putting the Falcons back in front 20-17. We're coming up on the Visa halftime report. Kurt, Terry, Howie, Michael, and Jimmy will bring you a first half analysis of this one. Fast starts today for RG3 in the nation's capital. Or for the team out of the nation's capital playing down in New Orleans. Mark Sanchez and the Jets out to a 21-7 lead over Buffalo. Well, this has been a fun first half. Not a single punt for either team. We talked about all the injuries for Kansas City. Perhaps there's an excuse, although they wouldn't use it, built in there. But Atlanta has all their horses on the field, and Castle has been mighty impressive.
And I'm not to make an excuse, but you're also talking about two new offensive coordinators that you really don't know what they were going to do coming in. You get nothing out of preseason, obviously. Brian Dable for Kansas City. You got Dirk Cutter coming in from Jacksonville to Atlanta. So these defensive coaches had to guess a little bit as to what the plan of attack was going to be. So far, neither one has guessed right.
Arenas waiting back on the kick, and a bouncing ball picked up by Copper, the short man. And he is up to the 19-yard line. And a lot of this has been going on throughout the entire afternoon. That's Antone Smith in the middle of it all for Atlanta.
Obviously not a lot you can do here with 5 seconds. They got to feel good about the half that they've had. Only down by 3 points. They haven't been stopped yet.
Let me ask you, I mean, seriously, why wouldn't you send some guys down the field and just put it up
Well,
here?
you're too far out. You need to be about the 45-yard line, 50. You throw up a Hail Mary now, it's just going to get intercepted.
So Castle will take the knee. Tony Gonzalez and the Falcons, a 3-point lead. Let's go to Kurt Menefee and company in Los Angeles for the Visa halftime report. 2017, Kansas City will get the football to begin the second half. Follow your favorite team all season long. Go to iTunes.com/NFL. Alongside the coach, Brian Billick and Laura Oakman, Tom Brenneman back at Arrowhead Stadium. And for the coaches at halftime, Brian, I don't know if there's anything we've seen so far that would lead you to believe that this is going to all of a sudden turn into a defensive struggle in the second half. You might just have to win a shootout.
Yeah, I think both coaches may be thinking they got to put some pressure on these offenses. So far, other than the one sack down in the red zone on Matt Ryan, neither team has been able to put pressure on the quarterback with a 4-man rush.
Arenas deep in his own end zone. We'll watch it fly. But in a game like this, you know, Brian, when you're going into halftime and you're gathering the troops once you get everybody back together, what do you think the message would be? You talked about pressure on the quarterback, but is there a more macro message in all this?
Well, for Atlanta, it's you're on your road. We've got the lead. You got to feel good about yourself. If you're Kansas City, you're saying we've weathered the storm. You know, we've not panicked here. So it's positive for both clubs. But both these guys have to identify how do we get pressure on the quarterback, yet not be vulnerable against these multiple skilled athletes that both sides are facing.
Well, certainly for Kansas City, it has been an extremely balanced offense. Jamal Charles, after being injured in the season opener last year, has come back. That's his 9th carry of the game and now 75 rushing yards. Chiefs closing in. They've just now hit 100 yards rushing. The Falcons have pretty much given up on the run game very early. Only 47 rushing yards on just 10 attempts. Back-to-back running plays for Charles, and he's up to the 29, 3rd in the yard. Laura Oakman
Brian said the right word. Pressure is what both coaches were talking about defensively. Mike Smith said we are going to see a more disruptive defensive second half. Talked about the lack of third down efficiency as well as tightening up the tackling. Romeo Crennel talking about he's all right with how they've stopped the run, but not at all happy in terms of stopping the pass. Need to tighten up in the red zone. Matt Castle had the last word coming out in the field, telling the guys, same attitude, play nasty.
And on 3rd and a yard, Kansas City converts on the quarterback keeper.
And I asked Romeo Crennel about that very thing, about the pressure package here. This is just a quarterback wedge. A lot of bodies pushing and shoving. I got more weight than you do. Big, strong quarterback in Matt Castle. But Romeo Crennel said, yeah, pressure's all well and good, but if you leave too many one-on-one matchups against this talented defense, and the same for Atlanta. You go one-on-one with this talented group, at some point the quarterback's going to find a way to beat you.
3 straight running plays. Make it now 4 in a row as Hillis slips off to the right side, brought down by Weatherspoon.
He was tackled by Sean Weatherspoon.
Weatherspoon, a first-round pick out of Missouri 2 years ago, and really had his breakthrough season, his 2nd season.
And he likes what they're doing defensively, a little more multiple than they have been in the past. We've seen a couple runs now by Kansas City. That would lend itself to maybe a play action pass to try to take a shot.
Second down and 9. It is play action. And again, good protection. Steps up and delivers a strike. McCluster still on his feet. Spun out of 1 tackle. And is up to the 45-yard line. Gain of 22.
And you can see right here, watch what, there's nothing underneath this. McCluster, look at that quickness. But once he beats the DB, there's nothing underneath it. There's no linebackers dropping underneath it to force a different throw from Matt Castle, because they had to react to the play fake because they ran the ball the first 2 plays.
McCluster, a running back at Mississippi. Played wide receiver, running back, now back at wide receiver for the Chiefs. And on first down, they bring Charles back in, a gain of 3.
What we haven't seen is, with one exception, a big throw down the field. Both these secondaries want to, keep it in front of you. Don't get beat deep. Well, the quarterback's fine. I'm not going to force it. I've got the kind of talent that I can throw it 5, 6, 7 yards and turn it into a big play that way. We're not going to force the ball deep.
The middle is McCluster, and that's a first down to the 28-yard line.
Matt Castle saw pressure coming early. You can see this coming from in here right into the middle. That's a lot of bodies. Again, that means there's nothing underneath it. Just what we talked about. You can bring pressure, you can bring a lot of bodies, but that leaves you one-on-one on the back end. They took advantage of it there.
So a gain of 15 on the 4th catch of the afternoon by McCluster, and it's 1st and 10, Chiefs at the 28. Hillis takes a handoff, and really for Hillis, there has been virtually 0 running room. We check in back in Los Angeles and say hello to Patrick O'Neill.
Hey, Tom, thanks a lot. We are going to go to Cleveland. Tough sledding for the Eagles and the Browns in the first half. This caps off a 5-play, 74-yard drive. Michael Vick to Jeremy Maclin. 10-3, almost at the half. Tom and Brian, back to you.
All right, Ryan, great to have you with us. Part of Fox NFL Sunday, our opening weekend of this 2012 year, and we've got a good one here at Arrowhead. Chiefs on the move, a 2nd down and 8. And 3rd or 4th option is Hillis. He breaks a tackle right through the arms of Brent Grimes, and additional yardage for Peyton Hillis.
Atlanta changing it up on every snap. They bring pressure, then they go passive. Anytime you go passive, right there, Matt Castle doing a nice job of dropping it off. With the talent that these guys have on both sides, or inside, outside at the running back position, open field tackling is huge. Grimes missing an opportunity to create a loss, and now it's now a 3rd medium for Kansas City.
Both of these teams have been lights out on 3rd down so far. At least on offense, they've been lights out. This one a 3rd and 3. And batted down by Weatherspoon. So out comes the field goal unit. A game-tying try for Ryan Succop.
Just kind of spying in here, Weatherspoon. Anytime these defenses, the way this game's going, I know it's the potential of 3 points here, but 3's better than 7. That's my elementary school math speaking there. But that's a win for any defense that doesn't give up a touchdown right now in a game that we have not seen a punt. 3 is better than 7.
So waiting on a spot of the ball as the holder actually moved up 1 yard. Colquitt, he was at the 31. Now he moves up to the 30. So this will be a 40-yard field goal try for Ryan Succop. Puts a foot on it. And off the upright, no good. So the Chiefs come up empty. They didn't get 7. They didn't get 3. My elementary math says 0's not getting it done. Gorgeous plaza area. Just down the road from Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. Atlanta gets the ball for the first time here in the second half with a 20-17 lead. And there's some pressure on the first play of the second half delivered by Justin Houston. Losaka Polite, the intended target.
You have Turner and Polite at the backfield at the same time. There's a lot of beef in there. You can see why the play action passes would be good. Polite is a load. I don't know that he's as good an athlete out of the backfield as Overman Haley, who they had a couple of years ago. They drafted Bradley Ewing in the 5th round. He went down in preseason. He's a good hammer, but I don't know how good a receiver he is.
2nd and 10. First carry in quite some time for Turner. And just nowhere to go. That's the rookie, the #1 pick out of Memphis, Dontari Poe, stepping up to make the stop.
This guy showed flashes of brilliance, but also showed disappearing at times when he came out of Memphis. He's had to be pushed into the limelight and play on a regular basis because of the injury to Trivio. This is what they expected out of the first-round draft choice when they took it.
Down the middle, Julio Jones, and he's all the way to the Kansas City 40, so they convert on 3rd down and 11.
That's what we've been saying all along here. Julio Jones. Just, you have this much time to work in behind. I don't care where the linebackers go. Julio Jones is going to find it. Matt Ryan having all the time in the world. You say it again. Neither team really able to mount a great deal of pass rush. You can see right here, this is a 3-man rush. They're not getting home. They're certainly not going to get home with 3. They were counting on coverage. Didn't happen.
Nearly midway through this 3rd quarter. Kansas City missing a field goal try on the opening possession. And Turner, carrying for just the 2nd time since the opening quarter, picks up maybe 2. Here's Patrick O'Neal.
Hey, Tom, well, this story keeps getting better. In Minnesota, AP again, his 2nd touchdown of the day, 10 carries, 48 yards. This touchdown came after a Blaine Gabbert turnover, 14-9 Vikings. Back to you, Tom.
Great to see Adrian Peterson back, injured against Oakland last year. Reconstructive surgery. They wondered whether he would play the opening weekend. We'll see Minnesota next week. Wide open again is Julio Jones. And a 1st down inside the 20 for Jones.
You can see here Derek Johnson. At some point, Derek Johnson's got to get deep enough. They're getting beat up on the inside. He kind of drifted to the outside because of the flat route. They've hit a couple of these deep crossing routes. Cornerbacks and safeties are looking for the linebackers to force a deeper, more arcing throw by the quarterback, and right now they're not getting it.
6th career 100-yard receiving game for Jones. His last 2 catches have gone for 51 yards. Little delay to Turner. And his best run of the afternoon. Inside the 10, down to the 8-yard line for Michael Turner. Very close to another first down. It is.
Talked about the big fullback. Watch this fullback right here. Size it up now. He's just going to lead Michael Turner. That's a lot of beef going down the middle. Now, last time we were here, boy, this is what's so tough about Michael Turner, tackling a bowling ball. Down here, they opted to throw the ball in all 3 downs. Let's see if they want to run it.
Well, they're going to run it on first and goal, and Turner ducks his way through just inside the 5-yard line, stopped by Javon Belcher. First time we've called his name today. Started every game last season for the first time in his career, but despite being their second leading tackler, Belcher, they need more big plays out of him. 34 career games, only 1 sack and only 1 forced fumble.
Lights back into the game. The big fullback and Turner. That would lend itself to another run. Or again, that little play action pass. You got Anthony Gonzalez down here at the bottom.
And they're looking his way. Jump ball. And it looked like Julio Jones was open. Julio Jones can jump.
Oh, but not that high. He's got some ups, but that one just got away from Matt Ryan.
Well, you talk about some ups indeed. I mean, this was last year. Take a look at this.
Yeah, this is what drew Atlanta to giving up all those draft choices to move up and get Julio Jones. Speed, size, hands, and major ups.
Now Jones split to the far left. Nice play to drive. It's 3rd and goal. Ryan will waltz into the end zone, and that is a touchdown again for Atlanta.
Great job by the right side of the line for the Atlanta Falcons with a late blitz pickup. Collapsed it all down. Matt Ryan recognizing they had dropped off to coverage, trying to double as many guys. Watch the right side of the line here, how they adapt to this late blitz. Tyson Clabo taking care of the inside, collapsed the entire defense and allowed Matt Ryan to run in untouched.
So each quarterback with a rushing touchdown in the game today, and a point after by Matt Bryant is good. So the largest lead of the game for the Falcons stretches to 10.
Well, you know, Romeo Crennel, we asked him, he's one of the few head coaches that calls the defense. And I asked him, why does he do that? You know, he could have given a long-winded answer. He says, hey, it's fun. I enjoy it. I'm a ball coach. You can see him coaching up right there. Derek Johnson maybe telling the same thing we were saying. Got to get deeper into it. He's just a ball coach, loving every minute of it.
I missed field goal try a moment ago. Kansas City trying to keep pace with his Falcons offense. That could turn out to be a huge miss in this game. Atlanta got it back. Ryan takes him down the field. 10-point spread. Everything going Matt Ryan's way so far today. Only 7 incompletions in his 26 passes. A couple of touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, and a 10-point lead, but a long way to go. And a good day for Matt Castle as well. Bouncing off a pile is Charles, and it is dropped for a 5-yard loss. First time we've called the name of John Abraham in his 13th year out of South Carolina.
The guest right here, they jammed this thing on the inside. This is what scares you about Jamar Charles. It's closed up. There's nothing there. Then all of a sudden he can maybe get to the outside. This is a difficulty as a play caller. Jamal Charles, you love the fact that he can break it out and make a big play. It also puts you in a lot of second and longs.
Now Castle out of the shotgun and batted down at the line of scrimmage. Well, both of these offenses running in high gear early on. Neither team, in fact, is punted in the game. Castle 13 out of 16 has run for a touchdown, thrown a touchdown. Well, this becomes a big momentum play. You get the feeling in this game to keep this drive alive. You give it right back to Ryan and the Falcons. And early in the fourth quarter, they got a chance to put this thing to bed, and the ball is loose. Witherspoon whiffed on it, and a scramble for the football. Looked like Abraham stripped it out of there, and who has it? Still no signal yet. Witherspoon tried to pick it up and run with it. And it is Atlanta football.
As the hand going forward, no, that's clearly a fumble. John Abraham, the one guy in the game we said that you probably have to account for. One-on-one on the left side with Albert. Abraham ducking underneath, forcing the fumble. But this is why the Atlanta Falcons, and in this situation you tell those defensive linemen scoop and score, but as a coach you're also saying just fall on it. We want the ball right here. This is why the Falcons under Mike Smith are 36-2 when they lead at half. They know exactly what they're doing in terms of playing to the lead. They're on the road. It's tough to win on the road in the National Football League. This team has maturity now under Mike Smith to take advantage of these situations.
Big Croy Bierman recovered that fumble. And the sack by Abraham, and Ryan steps, and a catch is made, and a touchdown is made for Tony Gonzalez. Everybody wondered would he dunk the ball over the goalpost as he did for so many years. Well, here we go. Can he still do it? He might be 36 years old, but he can still throw it down.
Yeah, and I know they're booing, but they love it. They respect this guy. What a tremendous talent. It's something special when you know you can watch a guy that you know is going to walk into the Hall of Fame and still get to watch him play at a high level.
Gonzalez has said he is 95% sure that this will be his final year in the NFL. This is his 16th season. That point after is mishandled after the snap. Now number 10 all-time on the career receiving yards list, number 1 among tight ends. Ryan says, come on now, I'm not going to alley-oop. You got to go for the jam. Another great Tony Gonzalez. First round pick for Kansas City in 1997. And through 2008 made 174 starts wearing a Chiefs uniform. And they talked about the turning point in his career. In 1998, he dropped 17 passes that year. 17 of them. And said his dedication to the game changed literally overnight. But this ball means something to Tony Gonzalez. Back in Kansas City as a Falcon, a touchdown and a 34-17 lead. Well, the first 3 possessions of the game, a pair of touchdowns and a field goal. They began the second half with a chance to tie the game. But Ryan Suckett's field goal hit the right upright. Atlanta came down the field, a touchdown, and then after a fumble, scored again. And now Castle flushed out of the pocket, and he is sacked for a 2-yard loss. Laura Oakland, you spent a lot of time around Tony Gonzalez.
I did, and for this past couple months, he's really been visualizing every step of this return, from getting off the bus to going into the locker room to getting onto the field. The only thing he didn't imagine was what we just saw. He said, I wouldn't let myself picture if I would dunk over the goalpost, if I scored or not. He said that was definitely a feel-it-out process. He said, if it feels good, I'll do it. Obviously, it felt good to him.
Like Matt Ryan almost urged him to.
Yeah, had a little prompting on that one.
They give it to Hillis. And he is wrapped up and hits it down all the way back to the 15-yard line. And all of a sudden, this Kansas City offense, which was cruising along, getting bottled up now on a second straight drive.
Well, they were getting positive yards in the running game. Maybe not big plays, but they're getting a good solid 2, 3, 4, 5 yards. Last 2 times they've tried to get to the edge, they've got knocked back. And now the play caller, Brian Dable, is sitting there with a 3rd and 15. That's a tough play call.
Well, 3rd down and forever. They need to get to the 30-yard line, and they are going to get there. How about that? And again, it is McCluster who has turned into the favorite target today for Matt Castle. His 5th catch of the afternoon.
They brought pressure from the weak side with Grimes, the corner, that opened up the void in the zone on the backside that allowed them to make the big play. So again, these defensive coordinators are having to play, throw the dice a little bit. Do I be aggressive? Do I bring the DBs and linebackers? Or do I go more passive?
Brian, you and I the last couple of years have seen a lot of this Atlanta Falcons team. And, one area they have been so poor in is being able to stop teams' drives even on 3rd and long. In fact, they were the worst team in all the NFL last year trying to stop an opponent facing a 3rd and 10 or more.
And that was Mike Smith's #1 priority coming into training camp, is getting off the field on 3rd down. Those weren't all just 3rd and longs. There were a lot of 3rd mediums and 3rd and shorts as well.
Hassel steps up and through the hands and then intercepted. That's William Moore off the tip ball. So the last 2 possessions, a fumble and an interception. And now the Falcons, with 1:20 in the 3rd, have a chance to blow this thing wide open. Had an eye, it looked like, on Moiaki, the tight end, across the middle. He was covered tightly. And then the tip ball into the arms of William Moore, and that delights their first-year defensive coordinator, been in the NFL a long time, Mike Nolan.
And I talked with Mike last night. He said he was anxious to get into a real game to get the feel of this defense. When you come in new like this, you got to get a feel for what are your guys capable of doing. What's the tenor of the game? Particularly in critical situations, he's getting a feel for this defensive group now.
Much like touchdowns and any scoring plays from a year ago, this year the NFL has instituted a new policy where on turnovers, they are also going to review change of possessions.
And I think that's a good thing. You have the technology. I don't know that we need to actually go into the booth to do it. I would take it a step further. We may be heading that way with these constant rule changes that put it into the booth. Use it as a resource. We saw earlier in the game when the ball on a short pass to the outside, they originally called it a catch. The referee went over, consulted with the back judge, the line judge. They said, no, I saw this, you saw that. No, it's incomplete. They got it right. Use the resource up in the booth. He can look at the replay in real time and get the word down to the official and say, this is what happened, that's what happened.
I'm sure you were always very agreeable to anything the officials had to say when they come to visit you on a sideline, right?
Yeah, and the more of my money they took, the more agreeable I became.
How much money did they get you for over the years?
They got me for a good 75 G's, man.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of crabs, as we say on the Eastern Shore. I got mellow in my old age, though.
Yeah, you really mellowed. It's astounding in now our 5 years together how much you have mellowed.
I applaud this, though. The rules are slowly, in the most critical situations, in the last 2 minutes, scoring plays, where now it goes up into the booth in exchange of possession, in a turnover. The most critical plays, we're using the technology we have. I'm hoping we get to the point where we can do away with the booth, do away with the flags of the coaches as well. The fans now, that's the other change. The fans can see up on the jumbotrons and the smart visions. They're showing just exactly what the official sees. I don't know if I want to be that official coming out and knowing that.
But that's exactly what they're seeing here on the scoreboard, what the official is seeing underneath the hood. Well, we invite you to call Star NFL to download NFL Mobile right now and get coverage of all the games in the NFL.
The ruling on the field stands. First down, Atlanta.
We have only had one penalty called in this game today, and that was on the quarterback for too forceful a movement while calling the signals out of the shotgun.
And it has not affected the game. I love it. Less is good.
Back-to-back turnovers on possessions for the Chiefs, and here comes Ryan going for the jugular. Roddy White to the 17-yard line. 25-yard gain on first down.
These play fakes with crossing routes over the middle of the field is just gashing the Kansas City Chiefs. We've seen Julio Jones a couple times, Roddy White gets in behind the linebacker level with a simple play fake and a throw over the top.
Michael Turner, no running room. Bring up 2nd down and 10 for the Falcons.
They get the big fullback Polite in there with Michael Turner in behind him. Now sitting here with a 34-17 lead. Mike Smith, the defensive coach in him, starts to say, okay, we've been throwing the ball well, but let's pound away. The clock becomes a factor, all but here in the 3rd quarter.
Well, that's going to be the final play of this 3rd quarter. 34-17, Atlanta in front. And Fox NFL Sunday continues after a break from your local Fox station. 345 total yards of offense for Matt Ryan and the Falcons. They put 34 points on the board. And after the interception, they have the ball at the Kansas City 18-yard line. Kansas City looks very confused on defense right now. Here's a pick play, if you will. Brian, you don't want to call it a pick, but we'll call it a pick, and it's Harry Douglas to the 11.
Yeah, the same kind of play we saw earlier here. Boy, this is something here. You know, like we said, we thought this would be a track meet coming in. Maybe not to this degree. This is one of those, if you blink, you come up with a field goal and they answer with a touchdown. All of a sudden, that creates that 17-point differential that we have right now.
4 drives spanning 70 or more yards. And 3 of those 4 capped off by touchdowns. Ryan on 3rd down and thrown a little bit behind Roddy White.
Yeah, Matt Ryan anticipated a little more pressure. It never really showed up, and that's a tough catch. Running full out one way, having to reach back. They'll probably credit that with a drop for Roddy White, but I don't know that it's deserved. That's a tough one to catch when you're flying across the field full speed.
And the 14 drops really bothered Roddy White last year, most in the NFL. This will be a 30-yard field goal try by Matt Bryant out of the hold of Matt Boschner, and he bangs it right down the middle. 37-17 early in the 4th. We had some of that famous Kansas City barbecue here on Friday night, Coach Billick.
Too much of that famous Kansas City barbecue on Friday night.
I'll tell you, here's a guy, Matt Boschner. He is the punter for the Atlanta Falcons and has not punted one time today, but he's getting his workout in with all the times he's been kicking off. So Boschner puts a foot on it after another Atlanta score, a field goal this time. And Arenas is wrestled down at the 15-yard line. Coming up next, our Fox NFL Sunday doubleheader continues with America's Game of the Week, highlighted by a dandy. The 49ers in Lambeau to take on the Green Bay Packers. Some will see the Panthers and Bucks, others will see the Seahawks and Cardinals. Coming up next. Who are you liking that one? The Niners and the Packers there, Coach Bill.
I may take a later flight. I may get to the airport and just see if there's a later flight out of here, because that's going to be a game worth watching.
Well, who do you like it now?
I think it's going to be awful hard for the Niners to go into Lambeau and get that one.
Of course, a lot of people thought that would end up being the NFC Championship game a year ago, were it not for the New York Giants stunning the Packers in Green Bay before they beat San Francisco in the NFC Championship.
You love the weapons that have been added to San Francisco now. You know, anybody that can change the personality. Kind of like the weapons we're seeing here. This is an example of what we're talking about. We've seen too many of these in the second half for Kansas City, where they were turning into positive gains in the first half. Now here we sit with another 2nd and 14.
Players had a solid game today for Atlanta with Stephen Nicholas. There's a big run by Castle. He appears to be short of the first down on a slide up to the 26-yard line. But Nicholas has either made tackles or forced plays like the one a moment ago for somebody else to get a tackle. Nicholas having toe surgery during the offseason. Now in his 4th year as a starter.
Well, they lost Curtis Lofton in free agency. Obviously they drafted Weatherspoon. You talked about that earlier. So obviously Nicholas needs to step up and solidify that linebacking core as a core with the loss of Curtis Lofton. Mike Nolan, the new defensive coordinator, does a great job of moving the linebackers around. Would love to be more active with these two guys.
3rd down upcoming. Kansas City wants a timeout.
Well, we talked about Mike Nolan getting to know his defense. Well, with every series, he's getting to know him better and better. They've done a heck of a job in this second half, mostly in stuffing the run of the Kansas City Chiefs. That doesn't allow the Chiefs then to set up those play action passes down the field.
3rd down, and Castle plants, throws, intercepted, and there's Stephen Nicholas yet again. Heavy pressure put on by the strong safety William Moore. Ray Edwards finished off Castle, who then throws it into the arms of Stephen Nicholas.
And boy, from grade school to high school to junior college to college, never, ever, 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 ever roll one way and throw back across a defense. You just don't know where everybody is. I realize the Kansas City Chiefs need to make something happen here. You're under duress. You're throwing it back across the field with nothing but red and white in front of you. You can't see over the top of it, and it turns into a turnover.
And I beg your pardon, that looked like Jonathan Babineau who actually put the hit on Castle as he threw. It has been a very disappointing second half for Kansas City on offense. The second half began and they went right down the field. There appeared to be confusion before their field goal try. The field goal attempt by Suckup hit the right upright. And ever since then for Castle, it's been fumble, interception, interception on their last 3 possessions. Jacquizz Rodgers for a gain of 2 on 1st down.
I imagine we're going to see the tenor of the Atlanta offense change now, even though we got 12:30 in the quarter at the end of the game, almost in a 4-minute mode. Pound the ball away, grind down the clock. No 2-minute here. Obviously, we want to take as much clock off as we can. Go ahead and play action fake and get your shots down the field. But they want to control the tempo and the time of the game now compared to what we saw earlier.
Rodgers out of the backfield on the reception. Of course, Matt Ryan, the #1 pick out of Boston College. You know, it's interesting in that you go back 5 years ago, 3 teams tied for the worst record in the NFL in 2007. 2 of them are on the field right now. Atlanta, Kansas City, the other being Oakland. It was a coin flip. Thomas Dimitroff, the general manager of the Atlanta Falcons, said tails to decide what the draft order would be, 3, 4, or 5 among those 3 teams. Atlanta got it and took Ryan. Had it gone Kansas City's way, chances are they take Matt Ryan. In fact, Kansas City has gone longer than any other team in the NFL since drafting a quarterback in the 1st round. The last one they did, Todd Blackledge out of Penn State.
Well, just listen to the teams you isolated. Oakland, Kansas City, and Atlanta, all searching for that quarterback, more so Kansas City and Oakland than Atlanta because they had the Michael Vick years. Look at the first team in the draft, Miami. They took Jake Long, good offensive tackle. Can you imagine how different their last few years had been had they taken Matt Ryan with the first pick of the draft?
41-yard field goal try now for Bryant out of the hold of Bosher. And it is good. And if you're wondering, after Atlanta took Ryan, McFadden went to the Raiders, Glenn Dorsey to Kansas City. All Atlanta here in the second half. 40-17. And nearly an entire quarter left to play. Bosher spins it away. And Arenas going to bring it out. And not a wise decision. for the second or third time by Arenas. Barely gets to the 10-yard line. Bierman hustling down the field to make the stop, and now a fight. Boy, that's a serious fight down there. That's Christopher Owens, a backup cornerback. Hard to tell whether it was Arenas that he got tangled up with or someone else, but you can rest assured Owens is going to be facing a substantial fine of some kind. There is a penalty flag down. Looked like the Kansas City player over there, Sean Drone, had the face mask of Owens, and it looked like Drone threw a punch after Owens had done the same. So both those young guys who haven't hit the lottery yet as far as money in the NFL are going to be fined.
2 dead ball fouls on the play. Unnecessary roughness against Atlanta. Unnecessary roughness against Kansas City. They'll offset Kansas City first down.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we're at the same spot, and their pocketbooks are going to be a whole lot lighter.
Better believe it.
Nice job by the officials, though. Got it under control quick.
Well, after further look, it looked like Owens was a guy that may have started that whole thing. The Chiefs down 40-17 with 10.5 to go. We're just going to.
Well, again, the Kansas City's just getting nothing in the running game. In the first half, Atlanta couldn't get anything going in the running game. In this half, Kansas City, and it's affecting their play calling. Here they are again in another second and long, 2nd and 12, where they were for in 2nd and 7, 2nd and 6. Now it's 2nd and 10 plus almost every time.
You know, Coach Billick, we began this game. One of the questions we asked was which Matt Castle would we see today? I think it's safe to say that through a half and the first drive of the second half, we saw the guy from 2010. Well, the last 3 possessions, a fumble by the quarterback and 2 interceptions.
Yeah, the hardest thing to do is to separate a quarterback's performance from the rest of his team. In 2009, that wasn't a very good football team. In fairness to Matt Castle, came back in 2010, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, went to the Pro Bowl. 2011, got injured, a little unsettled about the type of offense they were running. He's back with an offense that he's more familiar with, but you're right, it's a tale of 2 halves. First half pretty good, second half not so good.
That's Dwayne Bowe for a first down catch up to the 23. Well, it's got to be so tough on a head coach not knowing which guy you're going to get, and undoubtedly the most important position on the field.
And yet you've got to support him. We hear it all the time. And I know fans will get upset. Why doesn't he call him out? Why doesn't he make, you've got to support whoever's in there. If you make a change, you make a change. But as a coach, you've got to support your guy. I don't know how much of this can be laid at Matt Castle's feet. You'd have to look at the film. But obviously, no matter how it comes down, it's not good for the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's remember the 3rd preseason game against Seattle. They just got basted. And it shook the organization a little bit, even to Romeo Crennel. We got to look at what we're doing. Obviously, that's the hardest thing. You open up, you know who the opener is going to be. You know since mid-April. Handling your team, knowing that win or lose, you got 15 more games to play, keeping it on an even keel after particularly an opening day performance like this.
Nice run there by Drone, who got involved in that sideline scuffle a moment ago. Of course, the Chiefs play inside the AFC West, and that was a division where 8-8 was good enough to win a divisional championship a season ago. That being, of course, the Denver Broncos when all was said and done. Now they've added Peyton Manning. Tim Tebow off to the New York Jets, where, by the way, they've scored 41 today against Buffalo. Raiders will have a full season with Carson Palmer as their quarterback, as that one is dropped by Asante Samuel. And then, of course, you have San Diego, and that's been a team that's been perhaps more Jekyll and Hyde than any team in the AFC.
You have a lot of unknowns. You don't know in the AFC West I'm talking about how Peyton Manning is truly going to play. We'll find out, obviously, as we go forward. And then you got to, with Kansas City, they got all this talent, but how's Matt Castle going to play? San Diego, can Phillip Rivers return to the form he had before? He's starting with a healthy Antonio Gates. So a lot of questions about this AFC West.
thrown, taking the pitch, and stiff arms a would-be tackler, and may have grabbed the face mask of William Moore.
And I think that's exactly what happened as he went to put that stiff arm out there. He got a little too much face mask.
This would be technically only our second penalty in the entire game. We have the offsetting penalties a moment ago.
As he gets the hands up there, you can brush it, but he's got a full hold of it there. Anytime you see that
Number 20
helmet,
the offense. 15-yard penalty, replay, second down.
anytime you see that helmet jerk like you saw there, that's a tough one for the officials not to see. Here we go with another second long. This has been the nemesis of the Kansas City Chiefs. They haven't gotten into a favorable down and distance pitch count, if you will. Play calling on 2nd and 15, 3rd and 15 is a whole lot tougher than 2nd and 5 and 3rd and 5. I bet you didn't know that.
I'm learning. I'm trying to learn from you, Coach Billick, every single day, whether it be about crabs or sailing or, I thought I knew something about pitch counts from all my days in baseball, but apparently I don't know anything about that either. As Castle just throws that one in the ground and hears it from the crowd.
And you mentioned it earlier, Matt Castle is going to have to battle this because he's not a fan favorite right now. And again, not that this is all Matt Castle's fault, but when you look at their schedule coming up, they have a little bit of a battle on their hands. And whether it's at home, you want to have a comfort at home. They go on the road to Buffalo, on the road to New Orleans. They come home to San Diego and Baltimore. They come in here, God forbid, with an 0-3 start. This is not going to be a friendly place to come home and play.
And, we talked about it's always interesting how a team can go to the playoffs in 1 year and then their schedule really not be all that difficult looking ahead of the following years. There's a 3rd down completion, and Kansas City will punt it. Let's check in with Kurt Menefee back in L.A.
Well, the team from the other side of the Show Me State looking good right now, St. Louis. Sam Bradford hooking up with Brandon Gibson, 23-yard touchdown. Pending the extra point right now, they lead it at the Lions. Tommy Brown.
This is called a punt. In the game of football, when a team is stopped after 3 downs, they often decide to go into punt formation. We bring it up because it's the first one we've seen all day. Penalty flag down on the near side, a fair catch at the 14.
This was called on this far side. Not sure what it is. Likely it tends to be holding. Maybe that the jam guy for Atlanta got a little too much on the gunner, the guy that's designated with getting down the field.
I want to get back to Atlanta.
On the return team, number 74, half the distance from the end of the kick, first down.
We're going to talk about more of this Atlanta Falcons team and what is in store for Matt Ryan in 2012. That's not a good sign. Brent Grimes here, Pro Bowl cornerback, limping to the sideline. We've been told he injured his calf and is out for the remainder of the game. And with under 7 minutes left, Atlanta a 40-17 lead. Yep.
And when you look at Atlanta, one of the strengths of this team, and you can see here with this time of possession, which is always so important, as long as it translates to points as well. But the strength of this Atlanta team, we've talked about the skill positions on the outside. We got Roddy White, we got Julio Jones, you got the tight end Gonzalez, but they've got the big backs in Michael Turner, a changeup in Jaquez Roger. They've got the balance to be a good, solid offense to match up with whatever it is they need to do to win. That's the strength of this Atlanta Falcons offense right now, their versatility.
Oftentimes when a team goes into playoffs, the next year they face a very difficult schedule. Now, oftentimes that can be misleading because you don't know who's going to be good, or maybe somebody who was bad last year and good this year. But the bottom line is the Falcons this season only they have a total of 5 games, 5, against teams that went to the playoffs last year, and 2 of those are in their division against New Orleans. Now, they do play 6 teams that went 7-9 a year ago, and those teams could go the other way, but one of them was Kansas City. And they have throttled the Chiefs here in the second half today. They do not play a team that had a winning record last year until week 10 of this year. And it just so happens the NFC South is matched up with the AFC West. Let's be honest about it. If you're any division in the NFL and you had to pick one division you'd like to play against in the other conference, the AFC West and the NFC West would be #1 on the list.
Absolutely. And next week they play on a Monday night against the Denver Broncos and Peyton Manning. You saw Brent Grimes leaving the field. Hopefully that extra day will help him get back, because if there's any team you need your full complement of DBs, it would be against Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos.
So we're going to learn a lot about Peyton Manning, I think, perhaps later tonight, opening their season against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But, you know, we saw a moment ago Arthur Blank, the owner, their outstanding general manager, Thomas Dimitrov. There you're going to look at Mr. Blank, who really, after the Bobby Petrino and Michael Vick debacles and all the heartbreak he suffered, and it was heartbreak, he went out and clearly made the right choice for his general manager, clearly the right choice for his head coach, and for the first time ever in the history of the Falcons franchise, they have won no fewer than 9 games in each of the last 4 years.
And it makes what makes it significant for those that choose to be anxious about them having not won a playoff game. All the things you just said, you got to look back at how messed up this organization was. And it was beyond just not being good. There were so many things from the Michael Vick to Bobby Petrino to change it all in 1 year. They went 11-5 in the first year. Now, they took Matt Ryan with the first pick of the draft. That certainly helps going forward. They put this team together intelligently. They need a few more guns defensively. Yeah. Mike Nolan's done a good job with what he's got here. They need that additional pass rusher. They brought in Ray Edwards last year. He's been a moderate success. The secondary has actually been pieced together pretty good with Grimes. Asante Samuel was a big pickup, and now you've got Dante Robinson, who was a starter for him last year. You've got to have 3 solid corners. They've got 3 solid corners. So they have the pieces to be a legitimate playoff, if not Super Bowl contender.
Bosher punts for the first time today. But he's been kicking off plenty of times, having scored 40. And Arenas with a flag down. Brings it up to the 43-yard line. We'll wait on the penalty. But Matt Ryan today, what a way to start the season. 23 of 31. 1 yard short of 300. 3 touchdowns. He's also run one in. Found Julio Jones for the first score of the game. Found Jones again late in the opening half. Has run for a touchdown and then found Gonzalez in the 3rd quarter.
Well, one criticism of Matt Ryan has been supposedly that he's not a great deep ball thrower. And Dirk Cutter told us that. He came in with thinking that was the case and was surprised by it. The fact that Matt Ryan, he says he's got a great deep ball.
37 during your return, 10 yards from the spot of the foul. First down, Kansas City.
Now keep in mind, deep ball has nothing to do with arm strength. He's got plenty of arm strength. Deep ball, the ability to throw the deep ball obviously has to be with the talent around you. It's timing and it's having the proper loft on the ball. But Dirk Cutter said he's got plenty of what he needs to be good. He's got a Julio Jones. That's not going to hurt. Matt Ryan said he wanted to get a little bigger and stronger in the offseason. He did. So he's playing with a lot of confidence right now.
It's been a nice day for Jamal Charles, coming back after missing all but a handful of plays in the entire 2011 year. 16 rushes, now 87 yards. Of course, 46 of those came on 1 carry.
What we haven't seen, we've seen Jamal Charles, we've seen Tony Moyaki. Early on, we saw a lot of Dwayne Bowe. What we haven't seen is, and Steve Breston, you can see there, Jonathan Baldwin. When I came out to practice on Friday, Jonathan Baldwin was stunning to me. This is a young man I got to know at the Combine last year. Good football player, came out of Pittsburgh, more of a basketball type player. This guy has transformed his body. Big, physical. They say he needs to just get his confidence. They've got all the tools that they need, a solid offensive line, but it has not shown up today consistently, particularly in the second half, as we said, when they've not been able to set up second down calls based on a good first down run.
I don't even think they have thrown the ball at Baldwin the entire day today. Hassel looking around, will offset down the sideline for Preston. Boy, he took a hit from William Moore and Asante Samuel, but hangs on to the football.
You know, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Steve Breaston's a guy, he's had 4 seasons, straight seasons of 700+ yards per season, and he's not even a starter. Wasn't it Arizona? Really hasn't been here in Kansas City. He's that slot receiver, that third receiver. There's very few teams that have that capable of a third receiver as Steve Breaston.
Well, we have reached the 2-minute warning. Second half, all Atlanta. (40-17), 2 minutes to play. Kansas City with the football at the Atlanta 41-yard line. Castle looking around to McCluster, in and out of the hands. Well, you go back having 3 different years with a 3,000-yard passer, a 1,200-yard rusher, a 1,200-yard receiver. Great Cowboy teams led by Troy Aikman and the Colts. Manning, Edgerrin James, and Marvin Harrison. And same can be said, but a big difference between those first 2 in this group. Third on that list, the Falcons are still looking for 1 playoff win, but they're so young. Only the 5th year for the quarterback. Let's check in once more back in LA with Patrick O'Neill.
We have a game in Detroit. The Lions looking to answer on the Rams. Kevin Smith, touchdown, tied at 20. Stafford, 3 interceptions in this game, no touchdowns. 7:17 left in the 4th. Tom and Brian, back to you.
Thank you very much. Our game produced today by Bob Stenner, directed by Artie Kemner, our technical producer Bob Muller, and our technical director Mr. John Howard. Associate directors Neil Gallo and Yvonne Wagner. Our broadcast associate Jordan Wolf. We thank Tom Barbary on stats up here in the booth, Scott Snyder, our spotter, and our entire Fox crew. I'm never going to hear the end of it from Jordan Wolf. Our main man, making sure everything's ready to go every single weekend. And I know your sidekick to your right, Mr. Bill Harmon, up here in the booth with us as well. It's been a great weekend trip into Kansas City. It's a nice throw at Castle. Kevin Boss, who had a touchdown. I'd like to remind many of you, and certainly Falcon fans are going to be interested, because we're going to have bonus coverage at the conclusion of this one. They are just underway in the 4th quarter down at the Superdome in New Orleans, where perhaps developing is what I think what most people would feel like would be the single biggest upset in the opening weekend of the NFL season. If the Washington Redskins, playing on the road, could finish off what right now is a 33-17 lead over the Saints.
Well, I'm going to maybe be a little self-serving here, but maybe, just maybe, head coaching makes a difference. The presence of the head coach.
Well, I was getting ready to ask you about that. I mean, they're on their 3rd coach, the Saints are.
And this game has been, is now, and always will be about talent, all right? But at the end of the day, and you very eloquently put it, obviously you start with the quarterback, but obviously coaching makes a difference. And talk about 2 good coaches right here, Mike McCarthy and Jim Harbaugh, the job they've done in putting these 2 organizations together. I tell you what, this is going to be a game, you said it earlier, this was the game we thought we were going to get in the NFC Championship game. Both these teams are better. Keep in mind, Green Bay, they were 15-1 with the worst defense in the National Football League. They're not going to be last in the league in defense again. And San Francisco, they're going to keep the same MO, but they've added Randy Moss. They've added Mario Manningham. LaMichael James, I'm interested to see how they use him, much like we see a Dexter McCluster here, and the way Kansas City used him, the Jaquez Rogers. Everybody's looking for that Darren Sproles type. They've added that in LaMichael James out of Oregon. So San Francisco, for a winning team like they were last year, has added some additional elements, probably more so than any top echelon team, to change their personality in a positive manner.
9 seconds remain here in Kansas City, and again, you're going to get some bonus coverage right here on Fox, as we will try to bring you the final minutes, if not the entire final 4th quarter. For some of you of the Redskins, and the Saints. Philadelphia just a 1-point lead in Cleveland. That game with nearly an entire quarter to go.
The significant thing about the Washington-New Orleans game to me, it's on the road. Washington went on the road into the Dome in New Orleans in that type of game. That speaks volumes. That's more than just an upset. That's substantial.
Whereas Thomas Dimitrov, he knows all about taking a quarterback with a top 5 pick. He did so with Matt Ryan. Of course, that's what the Redskins did with Robert Griffin III, getting him out of Baylor. And spinning his way into the end zone is thrown for a touchdown. First career touchdown. So congratulations to that young man. In fact, today was the first time he had ever touched the ball in an NFL game out of the University of North Carolina.
Second on to the extra point, President Bullway holding.
Of course, all the teams having to get their rosters down. And, well, Coach Brian Billick, you were telling a story going back to your coaching days when you had a little hiccup in having to decide who was on the active roster and who wasn't.
Well, you always want to be respectful because you realize to no small degree you may be ending a career, but they brought it's obviously a rush of people coming in and you're trying to get your roster set, and they brought a young man in, sat him down, and I was going through my normal spiel about, hey, you worked hard, it's great, but unfortunately it's not going to happen for you. This guy had a quizzical look on his face. Now they always do, but this one went beyond the norm until I realized I was cutting the wrong guy. This was a guy we were going to keep. So I'm thinking, how do I bail myself out of this? So when I realized it was a young tight end we were going to keep, I said, son, see how bad it feels to get cut? You've made this football team, but if you don't keep working hard, keep your head in your playbook, this is exactly what's going to happen to you. Now get back in the locker room and go to practice. So, and he got up and gave me a hug. It's the only time I've ever been hugged by a player that I thought I was going to cut.
You know, you and I were talking about it, though. I'm surprised that kind of thing doesn't happen more often.
You know, I made it real clear to our Turk, you know, the guy that goes get him, because I just wanted to talk this kid and congratulate him for making it. Well, he didn't know what I was going to call him in for, so he just said, hey, go see Coach Billick with your playbook. But and I hate to say it, you know how good I am with names.
Oh, yeah. Very good. You keep calling me John.
Even through a training camp, you just get to know some of them by numbers, and they come rolling in there, and half the time you really don't know who you're talking to. And so that one almost caught me. But we did keep the young man, fortunately.
Well, you did all right. You're still walking around with that big, huge ring on your finger there. That
right.
signifies something, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it signifies that I've been able to bluff myself through this for a long, long time.
Well, we're glad you're up here in the booth. 40-24, and this game will come to, well, they're going to let 1 second. And now it is over. So Tony Gonzalez, who spent 12 years here in Kansas City, returns to begin his 16th and perhaps his final season in the NFL. That's still to be determined. But he scores a touchdown in a Falcons rout of his one-time team, the Kansas City Chiefs. Kurt, Terry, Howie, Michael and Jimmy standing by. DirecTV in our Fox Network Center. Big win for the Falcons on this opening Sunday.